keeps me chuckling from the time I get in the car to the time I make it to work. Waking up with the Rickey Smiley Morning Show. Woo-woo!
All right, y'all, Rickey Smiley Morning Show, 25 minutes after the hour, y'all. Today is Super Tuesday. Everybody, wherever you are, if they have an election, make sure you get out and vote, because it's a lot of judges on those ballots. So make sure that y'all get out and vote, because it's just a lot of people on the ballot. It's not just for some of the nominees, and some judges out here running. Big shout out to Ruby Davis, Sarah. But make sure y'all get out and vote. It's so important. You got a lot of judges that's running as well that's on these ballots. It's really, really important. So I asked Jeff, and before Jeff, you answer that question, Special K.
Yeah.
Jump in on what do you think about? Because I hit you up last night.
I listened to Jim Clyburn, Democratic, one of the Democratic leaders in South Carolina, who was talking yesterday about he's jumping in to kind of not take over, but jump in to play a real leadership role in Biden's campaign. And that's going to be important, because I think the Democratic establishment leadership is making a play now to say, look, this is going to be our guy. And because Bernie he's never been a Democrat. He's not a Democrat, even though he caucuses with the Democrats. But he makes a clear distinction that he's not a Democrat. And so the leadership is not going to get behind that. Biden right now is up by 20 in Virginia, by 9 in North Carolina, 2 in Texas, and he's only down 7 in California. There's rumbling that Kamala Harris is going to come out and endorse him today in California.
Biden?
There's some rumblings about that. It was on Morning Joe this morning. That's going to be big.
So Jeff, here's the question, and Special K, I want you to I want to see what you think too, because we talk politics all the time, all day. The question is, if Joe Biden wins the Democratic nomination, will Bernie Sanders supporters stay at home?
So I don't profess to be able to speak for all Bernie Sanders supporters, right? Because you got hardcore gangster disciples,
right?
That's behind him, and you got people that just like him and think he's a better choice, and those aren't always the same. But I've already started hearing stuff, Rick, about narrative around if he doesn't get the nomination, it'll be because Biden stole it. And I keep hearing it over and over again. And there's people who are pissed because, for those of you that don't know, because this whole process can get kind of interesting. There was something that following the 2016 presidential election, there was a Unity Reform Commission, and it revised the Democratic nominating process, including reducing the number and power of automatic delegates. And Rick, you said earlier, superdelegates. Superdelegates within the rules are known as automatic delegates. So at the conclusion of the 2016 convention in 2018, they voted to adopt a measure banning superdelegates from voting on the first ballot at a contested national election. And that was really pushed by Bernie. So there were a whole lot of people that are pissed right now because this narrative is if Bernie doesn't win, somebody stole the election from him, and so they're not going to support the process.
Jeff, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you weren't finished. Go ahead, finish your thought.
No, go, please.
Okay, let me ask you this. So I think the advice for Bernie supporters, and like you said, this happened in 2016, the advice for Bernie supporters is get out of your feelings, because they're focusing on the battle when we got to focus on the war. They want to win the battle, which is the nomination, but the war is to win.
Rick said it. I don't think that's the war for them. Rick said it earlier, and I think that this second go-around with Bernie, and even in some of the congressional races that we've seen in the last 2 years, there's about to be a real potential civil war within the Democratic Party, because the far left of the Democratic Party aren't really Democrats. And that's the real question. Is this the moment where there is the creation of a third party? Because there are people that would literally risk a disruption to make a point and let Trump get reelected.
So here's a question. Now, this is really important. Excuse me. Should Joe Biden put Bernie Sanders on the ticket, or is he getting pressure to put somebody, a black woman or Andrew Gillum on the ticket. What's your thoughts on that?
I think that's a good question. I just don't know if it's too much of oil and water.
Yeah.
I mean, I think that what Bernie wants for the country is fundamentally different than what Biden wants for the country, and that's really what we're talking about. And I just don't see Bernie Sanders, if Biden wins, I don't know if I see Bernie Sanders saying, I'm willing to be on this ticket, because that would in many ways go against everything he's been preaching. Now, I don't know if Elizabeth Warren would feel the same way. And so if you're talking about doing what I hear you saying, perhaps choosing Elizabeth Warren would be like picking Bernie without picking Bernie. But I don't know, Rick. I think that the country I think what we see today in Super Tuesday is going to tell a whole lot. I frankly would love to see an Andrew Gillum on the ticket. And I think that there's a lot of people that would rather see a woman or a person of color on the ticket versus next to one of these two old white men. So I think for a lot of reasons, picking Bernie would just be a bad optical choice with these two old white men. But just principled thinking, I just don't see Bernie going for it. Bernie ain't even talking about if he gets the nomination taking any of Bloomberg's money. Or Bloomberg.
Well, that's another thing that we got to talk. We'll talk about this one coming out of the break. Listen to this. Special Cat, I think you mentioned this. Who was I talking? No, Glenn and Three told me this on the phone last night that Michael Bloomberg has all of those millions of dollars he had already paid for all of those ads going all the way into November. And just because he bought the ads, that don't mean that there'll be Michael Bloomberg ads. And he was willing to keep
ads, Rick. It's not just ads. He's paying everybody that's working for his campaign has a contract through November, no matter what happens.
Right.
He's telling whoever gets the nomination, I'm giving you my offices, I'm giving you my staff, I'm giving you my infrastructure. That's what he's committing to whoever wins the nomination. And Bernie folks, I don't know if there's been an official stance, but unofficially, they're saying they don't want it.
All right, let's take these two calls right quick. Rick's About the Morning Show. Good morning.
The most important topic in this election is going to be the student loans and things like that. I really feel like Biden's message isn't touching the younger base. If he does win, he will not beat Trump at all.
I want to know what they're going to be able to do to help my kids' education, healthcare. How are they going to help my kids prosper in their lifetime?
All right, y'all. So listen. Let's go to break right quick because we're running a little long. We don't want to run behind. So coming out of the break, I'll let Jeff and Special K answer that question. Coming up next, Rickey Smiley Morning Show.
This is the Rickey Smiley Morning Show.